Welcome to the Power Hour by the Center of Energy Workforce Development. My name is Conchetta. I'm an electrician by trade. I'll be your host. We're back with Traci, Chantel, and Jessica to talk about the physical and mental demands that they face and how they handle them. So let's get back into a closer look at the high demand skilled trades careers within the energy industry. All right. Now let's get into the real nitty-gritty talk. We want to talk about some of the I get a lot of questions about this. And as women, a lot of times, I've seen, and I think it's coming from a good place, but when women are get interested in these types of jobs, I know I was asked this. A lot of women get asked, like, what you're getting into, right? Uh, this is a demanding, physically demanding job and stuff like that. So I want to kind of describe that for you gals out there, or anybody really getting into the industry, because there's a good chance that somebody's going to ask you that question, and we want to make sure that you have a good answer for you. So we're going to get into kind of some storytelling that kind of shows a couple things. Is one, it is physically and mentally demanding, these careers, but two, how a lot of times we already possess those strengths, we just don't really realize it or connect it to this type of industry. So Jessica, I wanted to start off with you on this one because one, you had the resilience of the 2 years getting into the line school, and then just toughing it out and applying all over the place. But you had some extra stuff, so you chose to become an outside line worker. Despite knowing the physical challenges. Can you describe some of the work that you do that requires that physical strength, and how you've overcome that challenge?
Yeah. Um, I think one of not the biggest examples, but I've worked on transmission in the past, both as an apprentice and as a lineman. And everything in transmission is big and heavy. And yeah. So, like, one of the tools that you use that I've personally used is a 6-ton hoist, which essentially hooks onto either a tower or basically a solid position, and you attach it to the wire with a grip, which is another tool, to bring up your wire to its sag, which, when you look at power lines and how they kind of flow, that's the sag of the wire. Well, these hoists, I think there's two different kinds of 6-ton hoists, and then they get even bigger than that. Thank goodness I have not had the pleasure to deal with anything bigger than a 6-ton hoist. Um, but one of those is between 70 and 90 pounds. And it's awkward and heavy. And as women, our upper body strength is not going to compare to an average man's upper body strength. So instead of trying to reach your arms fully extended all the way out to land this thing on the wire, use your head. Think, work smarter, not harder. Move. If you're in a bucket, move the bucket closer to your working position so you can, have it in your kitchen, if you will, and have it, at your chest level so you can land it on there and, maneuver it around how you need. Um, Also, we're a crew, right? We're supposed to be a team. So if you need help, we all have little egos, some bigger than others, but we're a team. Ask for help. Don't be too bullheaded or scared or whatever the word is. I've done it. I'm guilty. I got this. I mean, you got to pull your weight. Don't get me wrong. But there's certain things like, hey, man, just help me with this real quick. Makes it go by faster.
Right. Yeah, we talk about teamwork all the time. We have here on this webinar. It's definitely plays an important role. But so you've got all of that challenge, and you figured it all out. Yep, I'm gonna make this work. And then you something happened in your life. Do you mind sharing a little bit about kind of what happened and kind of what that journey was?
So life is obviously unexpected for all of us. It was a year and a month and some change. So I was already topped out. It was a little over a year after I became a journeyman. I wanted to travel to go work in a new place. So I went to Colorado, and I ended up getting into a really bad motorcycle accident 2.5 months after I started working there. And ultimately had to have my right leg amputated below the knee, and definitely a whirlwind, as to simply put it. But so that's its own challenges, just outside of work and everything. But I ended up going back to work 6.5 months later. I took a storm call, like snow slash ice storm on the East Coast up in New York, Maine. Went there, I think, like 3 times in a row, a couple months back to back. And, I called the owner because I kept getting the texts about this storm, and I had worked for them once prior to my accident, and, I called him and I was like, "Jay, I wanna go to work, but I don't know, like, this is the first time going back doing anything." And, I said, "I can't climb yet, like, that's way too soon, that's crazy." And he's like, "Don't worry about it. Don't bring anything, pretty much. Like, just get here and we'll figure it out." And he's like, "Well, can you get in a bucket?" I was like, "Dude, we're gonna find out together because I have no idea." And those first, 3 storms, the terrain and the ice and just deep snow, all of it. It's challenging anyways, right? For all of us. But kind of learning how to re-navigate and figure out how to maneuver a little differently, and um, just even all of us are on our feet all day, so even that is a lot more exhausting being an amputee. And so just, I think, mentally staying busy for one definitely helps until the end of the day. But just, I don't know, it's definitely been an interesting hurdle to maneuver through. But being stubborn has helped me greatly.
That's the part when it helps. Well,
Yes.
definitely commend you for really wanting to get back out there and then figuring out what it was take. And really, it says a lot about who you were before the amputation for somebody to say, "Yeah, come down. Well, like we got you. We know that you're going to get this done." So that really speaks volumes to the type of worker you were before the accident. So I think it's incredible, and thank you for sharing that with us. So we want to try to make sure because we all, you guys are just all phenomenal in your own ways. So I want to hear about Tracy. So you've talked about this is kind of like a mental thing here. You've talked about working on your tools as a painter, and that you've been a coatings foreman, general foreman, superintendent. First, can you explain what that means, and how that helps the energy industry, and then maybe a little bit of why you would, well, I think, go back and forth between all of those roles.
So first of all, coatings would be just painting, paint uh, any kind of paint or coating that you would put on to a surface. So as far as the energy industry goes, so the two main components of any form of power plant, whether it be a nuclear plant or a gas plant or anything like that, you're going to have water, and it's going to be running through metal pipes. So water plus metal equals rust. And rusted pipes are not good for any industry. So mainly what we are there for is for protection. We are protecting from corrosion. So you think of painting and you think of, you're just going to go and put the paint on, but the majority of the work is actually in the prep. So we have to make sure that whatever surface we're um, applying whatever coating to is prepped the correct way so that it will adhere and then therefore protect whatever surface it is. Um, so, and as far as moving from one position to another, like I said, right now I'm on my tools, which is fine, and there's nothing wrong with it. I actually really enjoy being on my tools. There it's a lot less stress, and you just show up and somebody tells you what you need to do and you do it. So you don't have to worry about any of it, but obviously get it done right. But but then yes, I've worked as a foreman. I've worked as a general foreman, and then your role changes. Uh, so like what is your responsibilities? And so um there's just a lot of knowledge that you need to, so say for like a superintendent or a supervisor, you need to have the knowledge to be able to pass on to, say, if you have apprentices in your group, you need to be able to tell people the right way to do things. So I don't know if that kind of covers a little bit of what you wanted to know,
It
but
is, and I think, kind of one thing I really wanted to know is most of the time, because of the nature of our work, you get on a job site, you may not be the first one there, you may be one of the last one there, you may come in somewhere in the middle. So even though you have the skills and the knowledge that you were just talking about to be a superintendent, are you saying that maybe sometimes if I'm putting two and two together, that you might be sent to a job and they've already got a superintendent there, so your role would shift based on the needs of the project, um, or whatever skills you may possess. I mean, both of those things could affect, what your role is. Is that fair to say?
yes, you said that much better than I did.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, you go to these, like we said, it's, project based. So you go to this project or you go to an outage at a different nuclear power plant, and there's already a supervisor in place. There's already a foreman in place, and they know the plant, they know the project, um, and they are the people that need to be running that project. So you go in, and that's when you get to say, "Ah, I just do the work, and I don't have to worry about it."
Right.
So
Perfect, perfect. There's something to be said for that as well. So, Chantel, a little bit different. You're a foreman pretty much all the time because it's just how things work for the particular niche that you're in. But you're currently running fire alarm crews as a foreman. Can you share with us why you're uniquely qualified for this position and why you tend to stay in that leadership position and not move around quite as much as the rest of us?
I still do move around a bit, but I had done the low voltage telecommunications apprenticeship, which was a 4-year apprenticeship, and in that I had a bunch of mentors and teachers telling me, "You really should just go into electrical. You should do it. You should do it." So finally, I just work happened to be slow, and I got into a shop that had an electrical side and a fire alarm division. And um, the person that runs the division, he had said, "Hey, how's that girl?" And the guys that were doing the fire alarm, they said, "She's always busy. She's always working. Like she'll probably be pretty good." So they approached me and they had asked me, and the company happened to be getting rid of their telecom division at the time, and it kind of like really gave me the nudge I needed to switch over. So I switched over and did another 5-year apprenticeship into the electrical side and happened to stay with this company all the way through. I've been with them since 2011. And this particular company has a fire alarm division that just they kind of stick with the same crews. And I started out as an apprentice and worked all of my years with them, and they have kind of taught me a lot of the ins and outs, and I they like what I do, so I kind of just run from job to job. I do some of their service also. At one lull, I did actually do solar because there was not we had a lot of solar work, so there's a little bit of energy that I got to dabble in. Again, we're always learning new things. Our trade is very versatile, and I got to do that. We did a couple of solar canopies, and we had done some solar on top of some Massport buildings. And I think a lot of it has to like a lot of my being so well rounded, I tend to like have little pieces I've picked up along the way to make me stronger in that aspect. Like low voltage wiring is similar to the low voltage for the fire alarm. Um, it's not the same, but it's fragile wires per se. And doing the telecommunications, that we work with smaller wires, and it's you can get them snagged on pipes and whatnot. And that's like I think that's why they kinda looked at me like, "Hey, like, she's doing good on that end, like, maybe we should pull her over here," and I've just been like I said, since 2011, I've been lucky enough to stay busy with them.
So there's, a couple things like with fire alarm, we talk about, well, how is that connected to the energy industry? And I think we were kind of chatting like any structure, any installation, anything that has any kind of danger of a fire breaking out. So pretty much anywhere has some sort of fire alarm system, whether it's detecting it, reporting it, um, uh, announce it. Like, what's the yeah,
Notification.
notification? Thank you, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Just so folks know, so that would include the power plants that Tracy works at, even some of the substations, maybe that Jessica might come across in her line work. So just know any fire suppression or notification, and that system. That's right up Chantel's alley, I guess is the
Yeah.
way to say it.
Any building that
It's
has any kind of building or even like some of the yards and stuff, they'll have some type of fire alarm integrated into all of it. Like no matter what, there's either suppression systems, but even the suppression systems are typically tied
uh,
into a building fire alarm system. And then there's like we monitor a lot of different aspects of any building. We're connected to the ductwork, we're connected to the sprinkler system. Again, suppression systems is what you would see a lot of for energy, like any kind of hazard. We're about it because we're gonna let you know, hey, run away from that. There's something fire happening of some sort. So
yeah. Just in the interest of time, I was going to ask you some questions about, you, becoming a mom while you were an apprentice and while you were, uh, again, when you were a foreman. And I know you faced some challenges, but you obviously worked that out. Um, just in the interest of time, could you give us if somebody's looking to, because you planned your family, if somebody's looking to plan their family and do that while they start an apprenticeship or things like that, is there any words of advice that you could give them?
yeah, definitely. Keep your eye out, like, know your surroundings. Tell your crew, like, make sure they're aware. Like, I know a lot of people say, "Hey, like, it's too early to tell anybody," but the sooner your crew knows, the better for you, your safety of your baby, all of the above. And you like with as an apprentice, like Jessica had mentioned, like you're at the bottom, like you want to show your worth, you want to work and kind of prove yourself. And like as a mom, you share with your crew, you want to say, "Hey, I'm a mom, I'm pregnant," so you want to be mindful of that. But I was a strong-willed person, and I just kept it moving. And my doctors had said, "Oh yeah, you'll be fine. Just do whatever you normally do." I don't think they fully understand what we do in the construction world. Had a bunch of guys looking out for me because they knew, and they said, "Hey, knock it off. That's too heavy. Put that down." And they helped me out. And that was my apprentice role as a foreman. I had a great kid working with me, and he took care of me the whole way through. He would help me. You do need some breaks walking up and down them stairs. A lot of stairs in my life. So yeah, I just talked to my doctors, and I mean, like, as long as you're telling everybody around you and you're being observant of your space. I had to call my shop once and request that I got moved to a different job site because I felt like where I was dangerous, and they had no problem doing that for me. They moved me. They said, "All right, I was unaware, and yeah, we'll put you somewhere else." And as long as you're open with your team and you're doing what is required of you, they're more than likely gonna work with you. There's a
I
lot of
think,
lot of great people out there.
right. I think in general, it's, communicating with your doctor, being honest with your doctor about what you do at work. Um, I think, and I think later on, this is a good enough topic and a lot of confusion. People, what can they do, what they can't do. We'll probably have a whole episode about this a little bit later. Hear some stories about different women that I know, that have been pregnant through their journey and just kind of what it looked like for them because pregnancy is different for each of us, right? But prime piece of advice, just coordinate with the people around you, communicate, coordinate, and work with your doctor on what's best for you and your situation. So who knew, like, that we would have, fire alarm, like you got Jessica, yep, obvious tie to the energy industry with that line work. You got, Chantel's doing this fire alarm and that work that's everywhere, obviously in the energy industry. But who knew that flipping on your light switch somewhere, somehow, a painter helped make that happen? People don't think of that, but it takes quite a team. I wanted to take a couple more questions. This is a comment. Anonymous comments. I will never complain at work again. Jessica, your story is inspiring. Every time I feel that I cannot make it, I will remember you. Um, so that's I have to agree. It's inspiring. It's inspiring, and I can't complain about anything from this day moving forward. Um, if we don't have any more questions, I just wanted to let you guys know that some of the things that we talked about, um, we'll have full episodes on where we dive a little bit deeper once we get away from what these trades. Oh, we have another question. WR asks, what is your best advice for women who are thinking about the skilled trades? If you don't mind, I want to tackle this one. My best advice is to just always try. Like I always tell people, when I'm at work, I'm just another worker. If out, a lot of times guys will try to help you out because that's how they were raised. They're like, yeah, let me do that for you. Um, but I will say that I always tell them, I'm like, look, when I'm at work, I'm just another worker. If you want to open the door for me when we're out doing something else, that's fine because I get it. But I'm just another worker and I've got to be able to do this work. So let me do it. And if I need your help, I'm gonna ask for it. So one, always give it a try to see if you can do something. And two, ask for help when you need it. Chantel, do you have anything to add? Just real quick. We're almost out.
That's kind of what I say to everybody. You got to give it a shot. That's it. Like you just
Right.
have to make sure you give it a go, and that some of, like Jessica had said, some things are a little too heavy for us. But if you don't try, you're not going to know your limits or where when you need
Right.
help and when you don't.
Tracy, got anything to add?
Don't ever count yourself out just because you're a woman. Now, you hear a lot of, well, let me get like you guys said, let me get that. And I feel like coming up myself, I probably went a little bit over the top just to try to show that I could hang with the guys. You don't necessarily have to, but I get whenever people feel the need to. But I feel like we have probably proven ourselves more than a lot of the men out there have just because of that. So
All right. Jessica, you got a quick lightning round type of answer?
Quick, quick, quick. I agree 100% with all three of you. Um, and with that, every time they do take a job away from you, you're only hindering yourself. If it continues to happen, they're hindering you, you're hindering yourself. So definitely, I agree 100%. I think too, to add, thick skin is a must in all of our trades. Thick skin.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have. We're a little bit over, but thank you everybody for joining us, panelists. Thanks for being here and sharing your stories. For more power hours, make sure you register. The next one's on November 5th. We'll hear from some women that are in completely different trades than what we talked about today, and hear some of their stories. And then if I think if if you can, put it in the chat. If there's something that you want us to cover down the road, let us know while you're in these power hours. We'll certainly take a look at it and see what we can come up with to help answer your questions. All right, thank you. Thank you for joining Power Hour. Join our live Power Hours at higherpower.org. Share higher power with anyone considering energy industry careers. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also listen to Higher Power wherever you get your podcasts, and join us next week for another Power Hour.